When your children don't respect you and ignore you, stay calm and do this for effective results. Have you ever found yourself calling your child's name multiple times, only to be met with silence? Maybe you've tried to start a conversation, but they barely acknowledge you, just a quick glance, an eye roll, or a one-word response before walking away. It's frustrating, isn't it? It's like the very person you've cared for, nurtured, and given your heart to is shutting you out. I know that feeling. That deep sting of being ignored, the growing frustration when it happens again and again. And let's be honest, it's not just about them not answering back. It's about what it makes you feel inside. The doubts creep in. Am I failing as a parent? Have I lost their respect? Why do they listen to their friends, but not me? And in moments like these, it's tempting to react. Maybe you raise your voice to demand their attention. Maybe you resort to strict discipline, thinking, if they won't respect me, I'll make them respect me. But here's the hard truth, those reactions might be making things worse. Because when a child ignores you, they're not just being disrespectful for no reason. There's something deeper happening. Maybe they feel unheard. Maybe they're struggling with emotions they don't know how to express. Maybe they're just mirroring the energy they receive. So what do? How do you break this cycle of frustration, disconnection, and silence? I want you to take a deep breath, because I'm about to walk you through a 6-step approach that can truly change the dynamic between you and your child. This isn't about demanding respect or enforcing authority. It's about rebuilding your influence in a way that actually works. Because at the end of the day, parenting isn't about control, it's about connection. And when you shift your focus to that, everything changes. Let's get into it. Step 1. Stay calm. The power of emotional regulation. Let's be real. When your child ignores you or responds with an attitude, what's the first thing you feel? Frustration? Maybe even anger? That sudden urge to snap back, raise your voice, or demand respect. I get it. It's a natural reaction because, as parents, we expect to be heard. But here's something I want you to remember. When emotions run high, logic runs low. Think about it. Have you ever been in a heated argument with someone, and the louder they got, the less you wanted to listen? It's the same with kids. When we react with frustration, they don't hear our words, they only feel our anger. And what does that do? It makes them shut down even more. Kids mirror our emotional state. There's a reason why children tend to mirror our behavior. Psychologists call it emotional contagion, the way emotions spread from one person to another, especially between people with a close bond. If you stay calm, they're more likely to stay open. If you get angry, they'll either push back with defiance or retreat in silence. I once knew a father, let's call him James, who had a teenage son who constantly ignored him. Every time James tried to talk, his son would either shrug or walk away. James, feeling disrespected, would yell, "You never listen to me." When I was your age, I wouldn't have dared to ignore my father. But the more James raised his voice, the more distant his son became. Until one day, James decided to try something different. The next time his son ignored him, instead of reacting, he paused, took a deep breath, and simply said, "I see you don't want to talk right now. That's okay. I'll be here when you're ready." No yelling, no threats, just calmness. And surprisingly, a few minutes later, his son came back on his own and started talking. That's the power of staying calm. It doesn't mean letting disrespect slide, it means leading by example. A simple mindset shift. I am the adult here. The next time your child ignores you, try this. 1. Take a deep breath. 2. Count to 10 if needed. 3. Silently remind yourself, I am the adult here, and I will lead by example. This doesn't mean you let things go forever. It just means you approach the situation with a clear mind rather than reacting emotionally. Because the truth is, when you remain calm, you don't just teach respect, you model it. And that's far more powerful than any lecture or punishment ever could be. Step 2. Understand what's really going on. Let me ask you something. When was the last time someone misunderstood your actions or words? Maybe you were having a rough day, and instead of talking about it, you stayed quiet. But someone took it the wrong way and assumed you were being rude or distant. Now think about this. What if your child is going through the same thing? Kids don't ignore us for no reason. There's always something happening beneath the surface. It could be frustration, stress, sadness, or even confusion about their own emotions. But if we assume their silence or attitude is just disrespect, we miss the real issue. Look beyond the behavior instead of jumping to conclusions. Ask yourself, is my child feeling overwhelmed with school, friendships, or social pressure? Are they struggling with emotions they don't know how to express? Have I been too distracted or busy to notice what's really going on? It's easy to assume they're being difficult on purpose, but more often than not, they're dealing with something they don't know how to talk about. I remember a mother, let's call her Lisa, who was struggling with her teenage daughter. Lisa noticed her daughter becoming more distant, spending hours locked in her room, barely responding when spoken to. At first, Lisa thought her daughter was just being a typical moody teenager. She kept pushing her, saying things like, "Why are you always in your room? You never talk to me anymore." But then, instead of assuming the worst, Lisa tried a different approach. One evening, she sat next to her daughter, softened her voice, and said, "I've noticed you've been keeping to yourself lately. I just want you to know, I'm here if you ever need to talk." At first, her daughter said nothing, but a few days later, out of nowhere, she opened up, about feeling overwhelmed at school, about struggling with friendships, about feeling like no one understood her. That moment happened because Lisa chose to listen instead of react. A simple shift in words can change everything. Instead of saying, "Why are you ignoring me? You're being rude. You never listen to me." Try saying, "You seem upset. I'm here if you need to talk. I've noticed you're quieter than usual. Is something on your mind? I care about you, and I want to understand what's going on." Even if they don't respond right away, you're planting a seed, showing them that you're not just there to discipline, but to support them. And when they do feel ready to open up, they'll know you're someone they can trust. Because at the end of the day, parenting isn't about forcing conversations, it's about creating a space where they feel safe enough to have them. Step 3. Shift from control to influence. There was a time when parenting was all about authority. You listened because I said so. But in today's world, that approach doesn't work. Kids don't respond well to control. They resist it, challenge it, or shut down completely. What does work? Influence. When a child respects you because they trust and value your opinion, not because they fear punishment, you have real influence over them. That's what creates a strong, lasting connection. Commanding respect versus earning influence. Let's look at two different approaches. You better listen to me. This creates resistance. It turns the conversation into a battle of power, making the child feel like they need to defend themselves. I'd love to hear what's on your mind. This invites them into the conversation. It shows that their thoughts and feelings matter, which makes them more likely to open up. When kids feel heard, they naturally become more willing to listen. Give them a voice, not just rules. This doesn't mean letting kids do whatever they want. It means creating an environment where they feel safe expressing themselves without fear of being judged or punished. When they feel respected, they start to mirror that respect back. A great way to shift from control to influence is by asking open-ended questions. What do you think would help us communicate better? I want to understand your point of view. Can you share it with me? How can we handle situations like this differently next time? These questions make them feel included in the solution rather than just being told what to do. At the end of the day, kids don't ignore parents because they don't care. They ignore parents when they feel like their voice doesn't matter. Step 4. Communicate with empathy. The magic of active listening. One of the biggest mistakes we make as parents is listening to respond instead of listening to understand. Think about it. When your child finally speaks up, do you interrupt them to correct their words? Jump in with advice before they even finish? Dismiss their feelings with "it's not a big deal" or "you're overreacting"? If so, you're not alone. It's a habit many of us have. But here's the problem. When kids feel unheard, they stop talking. What true listening looks like. Empathetic communication isn't about fixing their problems right away. It's about making them feel understood. Instead of reacting, try mirroring their words to show you're truly listening. Here's an example. Child, I don't want to talk right now. Parent, I hear you. It seems like you need space. Let me know when you're ready. This simple response does two things. 1, it acknowledges their feelings instead of dismissing them. 2, it leaves the door open for them to come back when they're ready. Now compare that to a common reaction. Parent, you always shut me out. You never talk to me anymore. See the difference? One approach builds trust, the other builds walls. Why this works according to Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg: when people feel heard, they are more likely to open up. It's human nature, we trust those who truly listen to us. So the next time your child speaks, pause. Resist the urge to correct, argue, or fix. Instead, focus on understanding before responding. Because when a child feels emotionally safe, they're not just more likely to talk to you, they're more likely to respect and trust you, too. Step 5. Set boundaries without harshness. One of the biggest misconceptions about parenting is that setting boundaries means being strict, harsh, or even intimidating. But the truth is, boundaries are not about control, they're about guidance. When we think of discipline, many of us remember the way we were raised. Maybe it was strict rules, punishments, or even fear-based parenting. And while those methods may have forced compliance in the short term, they didn't necessarily teach respect. They taught obedience out of fear. But respect is a two-way street. If we want our children to respect us, we must also respect them by setting boundaries that make sense rather than enforcing rules with threats or punishments. Why harsh discipline backfires? Think about it. When someone forces you to do something, how do you feel? Angry? Resentful? Defensive? Kids feel the same way. If we push too hard, they push back, and that's how power struggles begin. Instead of punishments, The Whole Brain Child by Daniel J. Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson suggests using natural consequences, real-life outcomes that teach responsibility without unnecessary conflict. For example, instead of saying, "If you don't clean your room, you're grounded," try, "I understand you don't want to clean your room. But if it stays messy, you won't be able to find your things when you need them." This teaches responsibility without making the child feel like they're being controlled. Boundaries are about clarity, not control. A boundary is simply a clear expectation with a natural consequence attached to it. It's not about forcing behavior, it's about helping kids understand how their actions impact them and others. Here's another example. If your child refuses to do homework, instead of yelling, explain the natural consequence. You can choose not to do it, but that means you might not get the grade you want, and that's something you'll have to deal with. This shifts the responsibility onto them instead of making it a battle of wills. If they don't want to come to the dinner table, dinner is ready now, but the kitchen will be closed after this. You're welcome to join us, but I won't be making extra meals later. No threats. No power struggles. Just simple cause and effect. The balance between firmness and kindness. Some parents worry that being too gentle with boundaries will make them seem weak. But here's the truth, being kind does not mean being permissive. You can be warm and empathetic while still holding firm to your boundaries. A great way to frame this is, 1. Acknowledge their feelings. I know it's frustrating. 2. Explain the boundary calmly, but in this house, we all clean up after ourselves. 3. Follow through consistently. I'll be here to help if you need guidance. This approach builds mutual respect, trust, and responsibility rather than resentment. The bigger picture: setting boundaries isn't about making kids obey, it's about preparing them for the real world. Life is full of natural consequences. If they learn to understand cause and effect at home, they'll be better prepared for life outside of it. Because at the end of the day, our goal as parents isn't to control our children, it's to raise them into responsible, thoughtful, and emotionally intelligent adults. Step 6. Rebuild the bond. The 10-minute rule. If you're struggling with disrespect from your child, chances are the bond between you has weakened. And when the bond is weak, so is the influence. Think about it. People naturally listen to and respect those they feel connected to. It's the same with kids. If they feel emotionally distant from you, they're less likely to listen, trust, or even care about what you say. So, how do you rebuild that bond? The 10-minute rule. What is the 10-minute rule? It's simple. Spend at least 10 minutes every day focusing purely on connection. No lectures, no life lessons, no asking about chores or homework, just genuine bonding time. This might seem small, but it's incredibly powerful. Why? Because it shows your child that your relationship isn't just about rules and discipline, it's about them as a person. How to apply it in daily life? The key is to enter their world. Not every child wants to sit down and have a deep conversation, but they do want to feel seen and valued. Here are some simple ways to apply the 10-minute rule. Play their favorite video game with them, even if you don't enjoy gaming. Showing interest in what they love strengthens the connection. Listen to their favorite music. Let them choose a song and tell you why they like it. Even if it's not your style, just listen without judgment. Ask open-ended questions instead of "How was your day?" which usually gets a one-word answer. Try, "What was the best part of your day? What made you laugh today? If you could change one thing about today, what would it be?" Do something fun together. A short walk, playing a board game, or even just watching a funny video together can go a long way. Why this works: when children feel genuinely connected to you, they naturally become more respectful and cooperative. They begin to see you as an ally, not just an authority figure. This method works especially well with teenagers, who often withdraw from their parents. The key is consistency. It's not about grand gestures, but small, daily moments of connection. Because at the end of the day, respect isn't something you can force, it's something you earn through love, presence, and understanding. Parenting is one of the most challenging yet rewarding journeys in life. When our children ignore us or seem disrespectful, it's easy to react with frustration or authority. But the truth is, respect isn't something we can demand, it's something we earn through understanding, patience, and connection. Let's quickly recap the 6 steps. Stay calm. Emotional regulation is key. Kids mirror your reactions. Understand the root cause, look beyond the behavior, and ask what's really going on. Shift from control to influence. Connection, not fear, builds lasting respect. Use empathetic communication. Listen to understand, not just to respond. Set boundaries without harshness. Discipline through natural consequences, not punishment. Rebuild the bond with 10-minute daily connection. Small moments of presence make a big difference. Final words of encouragement. Parenting isn't about perfection, it's about progress. The fact that you're here, looking for ways to strengthen your relationship with your child, already makes you an incredible parent. So start today. Try just one of these steps and see how your child responds. Over time, you'll notice a shift, not just in their behavior, but in your relationship as a whole. They will start to open up, trust you more, and naturally show you the respect you deserve. And remember, parenting is a journey of love, patience, and growth for both you and your child. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with other parents who might need this advice. And I'd love to hear from you. What challenges are you facing with your child? Drop a comment below, and let's support each other on this journey.